What's up, geeks, and welcome to the channel. Imagine we're working on a project where a developer, in an effort to solve a simple problem, introduces a solution with layers of complexity that aren't really needed. Instead of focusing on a straightforward, effective approach, they add extra logic, abstract classes, or use convoluted patterns. Initially, this might look like a robust solution, but over time it leads to what's called accidental complexity. This can make the software harder to maintain, slow down development, and create confusion for the entire team. So why does this happen? A major reason for accidental complexity is inexperience or a lack of knowledge about simpler alternatives. Developers new to a specific framework or domain might think more complexity equals better quality, leading them to over-engineer a solution. For instance, they may introduce patterns or abstractions that aren't necessary for the task at hand, simply because they've seen these techniques used elsewhere or because they want to impress their peers. This can snowball into code that's difficult to understand, maintain, and troubleshoot. Another cause is the urge to create a one-size-fits-all solution. Developers may try to account for every possible future use case, even if those cases aren't relevant yet. This can bloat the code, making it hard to navigate or adapt when the actual requirements change. In contrast, a simpler solution could have been more flexible and easier to evolve as needs arise. In this situation, the KISS principle, or keep it simple stupid, is often overlooked even though it's a proven strategy to avoid unnecessary complexity. Sometimes accidental complexity also arises from poor communication or unclear requirements. Developers may overcomplicate the solution because they're unsure of what's truly needed, or they lack a clear understanding of the problem they're solving. Instead of seeking clarity, they hedge their bets by making the code very flexible or configurable just in case a feature is requested later. This often results in code that's difficult for others to modify or extend, since nobody's quite sure what all the moving parts do. A more subtle cause can be the desire to showcase advanced technical knowledge. Some developers may feel pressured to prove their competence by applying sophisticated but often unnecessary architectural patterns. While techniques like microservices, excessive inheritance, or complex design patterns can have their place, using them inappropriately can turn a simple task into a complex web of dependencies that overcomplicates the project. The consequences of accidental complexity start to show up over time. One of the most immediate effects is slower development. As the codebase grows in complexity, every change becomes harder to implement and test. Developers waste time navigating through layers of abstractions, trying to figure out how one part of the system interacts with another. Debugging also becomes a much more challenging task, since tracking down the root cause of an issue means going through multiple layers of complexity that shouldn't even be there. Another symptom is diminished collaboration. As the system becomes more complicated, newer developers or even experienced ones unfamiliar with the code struggle to contribute because they're unsure how everything fits together. The knowledge required to work on the project becomes siloed between a few key individuals, making the team less efficient as a whole. Lastly, the application's performance may suffer. Extra layers of complexity often introduce overhead on the application, more memory usage, more CPU cycles, and slower execution. Even if the application works as intended, its performance might be impacted because of all the unnecessary steps it goes through to achieve a relatively simple task. So, how can we avoid accidental complexity? The key is to focus on simplicity and clarity from the start. Applying the KISS principle is essential. We should always ask ourselves, is this the simplest way to solve the problem? Before adding new features or architectural layers, think about whether they are truly necessary or if they're just making the system harder to manage in the long term. Another strategy is incremental development. We should build solutions that solve the immediate problem, then expand as needed. This keeps the code lean and adaptable. Remember, it's easier to add complexity later than it is to remove it after it's baked into the system. Also, regular code reviews and peer feedback are crucial. Having other developers review the code can help identify areas where things might have been overcomplicated or used unnecessary abstractions. Sometimes an outside perspective can reveal simpler ways to achieve the same goals. In conclusion, accidental complexity often starts with good intentions but quickly turns into a long-term liability. By focusing on simplicity, following the KISS principle, and staying disciplined about when and where to introduce complexity, we can avoid this anti-pattern. Keep in mind the best solutions are often the simplest, and maintaining clarity in our codebase will save us time, effort, and headaches down the road. And that's it for this video. I hope it was helpful. Thank you guys for watching, take care, and I will see you in the next one.